going on, guys? It's Elias. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in today. So today we're going to be covering a topic which I've been asked about quite a number of times, and for one reason or another I just haven't had the time or energy to actually do it, but here we are. Today we're going to be talking about car insurance. Isn't that exciting, guys? So a couple of things before we get started. What I'm going to be covering is, did insurance cover my crash? Well, the quick answer to that is no. And we're going to be covering why. We're going to be covering the options that I had back then, and then we'll cover the options that we have today, because as everything goes, things have improved and now we have way better options. So before we go ahead and get started, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate when you guys do that. A shocking 95% of you guys that watch the videos don't actually subscribe to the channel. And if you don't subscribe to the channel, then you're not really supporting the channel. And if you don't support the channel, then I really have no way to continue to make these videos. So thanks in advance for subscribing, guys. I really appreciate it. Let's go ahead and get started. So to talk about insurance, first, I am a licensed property and casualty and life insurance salesman for Florida and New York State. So I've taken the test, I've gotten certified, I know a lot about insurance, probably a lot more than any of you guys would even want to know. So it goes without saying that I've known what my options have been, I've known what to do, and I'm going to be covering a lot of these things and what my thought processes are and things like that here. So if you look back to when I took this car out to Summit Point Raceway, and I was actually in the process of looking for an insurance company that would insure something like Grid Life. Now, for a long time, there have been these HPDE or track day insurance companies that would insure your car if you go out to a track day. However, for competitive events, it really wasn't a normal thing for any insurance company to cover. And even today, it's very difficult to find an insurance company that'll cover your competitive events. Thankfully, some of that has changed. I will be covering that shortly. But for my event, for Grid Life events, I did some research, I did some looking, and I was able to find one insurance policy. It was $1,000. It wasn't Haggerty, I believe it was RLI or Lockton, and it was $1,000, and it did not cover competitive driving. Now, I knew I was going to be competitively driving at Grid Life Summit Point where my crash was, and if they found out that I was competitively driving and I crashed and I try to get my insurance to cover my crash, first, I would not be covered, and second, I would be out another $1,000 because that's what the insurance plan was. And so I made the decision not to take insurance. Now, you don't always need to get other insurance to get coverage. There are still some regular car insurance companies that will cover HPDEs as long as you make sure it's just a track day. Now, what does HPDE stands for? Well, it stands for High Performance Driver Education. As long as you highlight that, and for the most part, pretty much every track day is billed as an HPDE event, you can call up your car insurance company, and as long as you have collision coverage on your insurance company, you could call them up and say, hey, I have collision, I have full coverage, so it's collision, and I have comprehensive. Can you guys cover me in case I have an accident at a high performance driving instruction or driving education event? So you ask them that, and for the most part, they'll say no. I know Allstate sometimes has a yes or a no policy, but it doesn't hurt to ask. And if they do cover it, it's at no extra charge. So you don't have to get any extra insurance. You don't have to do anything extra. I, for one, did call Progressive recently just to ask them, hey, do you guys cover HPDEs? Do you guys cover track days if I take my car there and I crash into another car or into a wall? And they said, yes, we definitely cover that as long as it's an HPDE and not a competitive event. So now that we covered that, I wouldn't have been covered by any insurance company had I had that accident, and they would have done the investigation and found out it was competitive. And at the time, it was almost impossible to find a insurance plan that would cover something like Grid Life or another time trial event. So I did end up paying for all the repairs out of pocket. And it's always difficult to do that, especially these days. Most shops don't even want to work on cars unless it's through insurance, because they know they can get paid through insurance, whereas customers may not always be able to pay the thousands of dollars it takes to fix a car. However, lucky enough, we have other possibilities today. We have other insurance companies that are able to give us what we need in terms of coverage. Let's take a look at what those options are. So in a big way, Very glad I'm doing this video today and not back when I had my accident. Things have certainly changed in the insurance world since that accident happened. It's been over a year now, and luckily today, instead of only having HPDE insurance, HPDE track insurance, there's many different options. So here we are at the SCCA time trials website. If you're interested in doing any type of time trial, definitely recommend going here. You can go to Grid Life, you can go to Global Time Attack. All three of those are awesome for time trials. I know NASA has their own time trial series, and you can go take a look there. But if you scroll all the way down, this is one of their main pages, and you see here, time trialing in 2020, protect your investments. Go ahead and click on that. You can see Haggerty there, and it takes us to Haggerty. So here, over here in Haggerty, it kind of tells you the overview of what all of these things cover. So it's powered by RLI Insurance, and it says that somewhere here. There it is, RLI Track Insurance. And RLI is a reputable insurance company, so, you know, trustworthy, and I certainly would trust them. And they even offer all kinds of different coverage. So they'll cover so Haggerty specifically will cover your historical car, your classic car. It'll cover your car if you go to a car show. It'll cover your car if you want coverage if it's in a paddock or something, and let's say it gets on fire on the paddock. That all can be covered if you go here. We're not going to cover that in this video. We're going to go right to get a quote, because I'd like to see what a quote looks like for this thing. So this is a screen where you'd see the quotes come out. So let's just go and pretend we're going to Pocono Raceway. That's the racetrack closest to me. I go there all the time. And then, would you like coverage for time trials? I'm going to start with no and just pretend this is a Track Night in America event. And then you have to estimate the value of your car. Now this is an important piece, because whatever you estimate is what the payout is going to be. So if you estimate your base value of your car and then the base value of your car plus modifications, if you estimate that too low, obviously the lower it is, the cheaper your insurance is going to be. But if an accident were to happen, you would not get paid out what the car is worth necessarily. You'd get paid out whatever you estimated here. So let's say my Type R, after that crash, after I fixed it, after, you know, looks how it is, let's say it's worth, I don't know, roughly $20,000. Might be less than that, but let's just go with that nice round even numbers. And let's say with the modifications that I have on it and I will be putting on it, let's just say $25,000. That's what it's worth before and after. And deductible. So you can do 10% or 15%. Again, another very important piece of insurance is how much deductible there is. And what this means is, let's say the car is valued at $25,000 and you put a 10% deductible, then 10% of the value of the car has to be paid out of your pocket if an accident were to happen. So in the case of the $25,000 car, you'd have to pay $2,500 before the insurance pays you out. And this is to protect you and protect the insurance company, really, to make sure that the insurance company doesn't have to cover a small scratch or something. Let's say you're on track and you kind of just kiss the wall and you get a little scratch on the mirror or something like that that costs $500 to fix. The insurance won't cover that, obviously. I like to do 15% because I'm just trying to cover a catastrophic crash or something that would total a car. And you just get a quick quote. Let's see what it costs. All right, $374, and this covers you up to 3 days. So for your entire event, up to 3 days. So 3-day event. You can go through a 3-day track day at Pocono Raceway with a $25,000 car. And if it's a track night, if it's not a track night, well, let's see if that changes anything. Let's say it's not a track night. Okay, so if it is a track night, they know what that is. They're familiar with that. And the track night's only a 3-hour event. And so it's a very short event, and therefore the quote's very inexpensive. Very inexpensive, honestly, for what you get here. And let's say it is not a track night, then they're covering you for 3 days of any track time you get. A lot of events are 2 or 3 day events, and this will cover all 3 days for $500. That's not too bad. Now let's assume that is a competitive event, like a Grid Life, or a Time Trial National, or a time trial from SCCA, or a Global Time Attack. And this, yes, will cover that. So if you take a look here, competitive time trial, your time is ranked against others or is used to assign points. So this is very much covered now by Haggerty and by RLI. Back when I was competing last year, nothing was specifically covering competition. Thankfully today we have this option. So let's get a quote for this. So $695, $700 for 3 days. And let's say let's say I went to Grid Life and I would go to Grid Life today and I would take my Type R. You best believe I will be getting track insurance, especially for a car that I'm going to be working on so much. My Type R is going to be a lot of blood and sweat and just time invested into this car and also money. So it'll be invested correctly if I do this properly. Now, let's say you change the tracks to, let's put in here NCM. Let's see if we can find that. Or national, there it is. Because it does change depending on the track, depending on the safety in the track and things like that. Competitive, everything the same, quick quote. There we go. Slightly different, not that much different, but it gives you a good idea of what these things cost. And again, this was not available when I was trying to buy insurance. You could have gotten HPDE insurance, and some people say that it would have covered me. Some people say it wouldn't, but now that it specifically covers time trials, this is the way to go. Now, there are other options, of course. You can go over here, so SECA TrackNet in America, and again, you go down here, it'll tell you all about Hagerty and what it covers. It's affordable, and for TrackNet, if you get Hagerty insurance, you get a 30% discount, right? And so that in itself makes it even more worthwhile to get it. I showed you what the cost was to do a Pocono track night with insurance. You save 30% of $160, and that's not too bad. I mean, if you're concerned about possibly crashing your car, this is an easy way to make sure you're covered. Now, RLI is basically the same company that Hagerty uses for track day insurance. As you can see, it's the same exact website, so I want to just highlight that real quick. And then finally, we have Locked-in Insurance. So Locked-in Insurance has been around for much longer, and prior to this year, they did not specifically cover time trial events, but I wanted to show you here, we are a go for all time trial events. So to specifically note, wheel-to-wheel racing, I don't know of any insurance company that covers wheel-to-wheel racing just yet. They may in the future, they may not, but that's why you see most people going wheel-to-wheel racing. They're mostly okay with writing off their cars at this point. They're the kind of people that, you know, for example, if I took my Prelude to a wheel-to-wheel race, I'm not going to insure it. I can crash it, buy another Prelude for $2,000, transfer the parts that survived, and it won't cost me too much. But if I crash a Corvette or a Type R or something newer, it gets pretty expensive. I don't think I'll be wheel-to-wheel racing in my Type R anytime soon, unless I can find insurance that'll cover things. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly enjoyed putting it together for you guys. If you have any questions, please put it down below. Leave a comment down below, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.